I am the owner of iTrip North Houston. It is a national franchise. So iTrip is nationwide, but each location has their own owner. So we buy territories. So that's what makes us a little bit different than like a Vacasa. If you've ever heard of Vacasa, it's a larger brand, right? Mm-hmm. But who's picking up the phone to answer guests is a 1-800 number. They may be in Idaho. They've never seen the house before. So the difference is we are local. We live where we work. We know our houses. I am boots on the ground. I'm answering, calls that come in if I need to get help. Or broken AC. It's not my fault, but it happens, and that is just part of, the short-term rental game. I've managed over 30 properties and some other things about me, but I have lived here, and I will say that I was an educator for almost a decade, and that is why I will move around a lot. And I know you don't love it, but I'll ask for a little bit of participation. It makes it a little more entertaining, right, too? It's the teacher in me. I can't get it out. So just a little bit about me, but I want to see where you guys stand on a scale from 1 to 10 with short-term rentals, meaning 1, you know nothing, you're here to learn from the ground up, versus in maybe a 5, you get the basics, you've had clients ask about it, you've looked at some listings, you've maybe played with a calculator before, played with ROI, or 10, you've got it, you've owned a short-term rental, you've sold them, you understand it. 1 to 10. What do you got?
You just
hold it with your hands.
Fingers out?
Yeah, just use your 9. You got a 9, okay. 4. I would say stay is more on the red scale. 1, 2, 3.
Currently have.
Okay, 10. There you go. So I had a feeling it would be kind of a range here of people that are more experts and then those who are brand new. So there is a short-term rental dictionary in there. For those of you who are new to short-term rentals and aren't an expert yet, this might help you a little bit if you want to just kind of browse over it before we get started, because I will use some acronyms and I don't want you to ever feel like you have no idea what I'm talking about. So in general, STR, short-term rental, I will say that because it's just natural for it to come out. Those are some of the simpler ones. And then I will say that ADR is very important, the average daily rate, right? That is what people are booking for. That does not include the cleaning cost. That does not include the hotel tax. That does not include the damage waiver. That is truly rent. That is what people are paying per night to rent the house. And the little more complicated one is going to be RevPAR. So this is where the number that you really care about. This is where you can truly figure out how profitable a house will be, because it takes the house and it tells you, even on nights that are not occupied, what your actual average per night is, including the nights that are not occupied, right? Because that's great if you're getting $1,000 a night, but what if you only rent it for 10 nights out of the year? Then your RevPAR is not that great, right? So that RevPAR number is looking at even those nights unoccupied, which is really, to me, is the most important metric that you want to be gauging your profitability, and you want your RevPAR to always be going up every year, even if the economy is changing, right? Even if, people right now, maybe they're not booking as much, well, your RevPAR can still go up. You just have to adjust your strategy on how you're managing that property. And then there's some other terms in there too that are helpful. So if you ever get lost and you're brand new, just raise your hand or stop me or check out the dictionary. It might help out a little bit there too. Okay, so little just how much do you really know to kind of gauge if you really are on that 1 to 10 true false statements here to get us started. So we got 5 true false statements, okay? We're gonna take like 30 seconds to a minute. Read them. You have little notepads. You can write 1 to 5 on there. Write true, false. If you think it's true, false, you can absolutely chat with your neighbor or the person behind you. That's not cheating. That's collaborating. If you think it's true or false, except our 10s, maybe that's collaborating. That's cheating a little bit. See who can get all 5 true, false. Can y'all see that? Okay. It says your short-term rental needs an annual occupancy rate of at least 65% to be profitable. There are around 2,000 active short-term rentals in Montgomery County, just Montgomery County. All short-term rentals in Texas are required to have a permit. Short-term rental demand in the U.S. is consistently declining in 2025, and each city or township in Texas can change its own local hotel tax on top of the state's 6%. Y'all are quiet. Oh, I'm gonna have fun. Let me go.
Over here covering his answers.
Oh.
Nobody can look at yours, right?
Didn't realize I was doing it.
How do we think we're doing? No idea? Some
I'm
people's
looking
like, I
left
got
and
on
right, and I'm
5.
like, I don't know.
Okay, ready for number 1. What did y'all think? True or false? True.
I said
False. That's false. I would say the average annual occupancy is around 50%. That's what you're typically going to see. So you can have a profitable short-term rental that is meeting the average, right? So typically in this area, anywhere in an urban area, you're gonna stay, I always like that 50% number. It's gonna maybe be a little bit under, like I'll show you the data in a little bit. Houston's a little bit under that 50% range. Now, obviously you wanna aim for 65%, right? That would be an ideal, that would be a great occupancy rate. But overall, you're going to see a good number to do easy math, 50%. Just think 365 divided by 2, right? 50% of the year to start calculating kind of what that would look like. Now, will you be more profitable if you have a higher occupancy? Of course, but it doesn't mean you have to be over average if you have the right daily rate. So there are around 2,000 active short-term rentals. Any guesses? In just Montgomery County. That's true, actually. And when I last pulled it, it was at like 2,112 or something like that. And that's just now Montgomery County is actually pretty big. Y'all know, right? It encompasses a lot of area, but the lake area and honestly the urban areas have blown up a lot. So there are more out there than you think. And when I show you the numbers of how many are active in this area, I think you'll be surprised. Okay, all short-term rentals.
Majority around the lake.
There are a lot around the lake. And I pulled just Lake Conroe to show the numbers of the difference.
We've rented in Lake Conroe a couple times before, so.
Hopefully, if you stayed with iTrip North Houston, it was the best experience ever.
It was great.
Okay, all short-term rentals have to have a permit.
Yeah.
That is false. You do not necessarily have to, but that doesn't mean that there are places that require them. For example, the Woodlands Township, you have to have their permit. And even some places in Houston, obviously, and Houston has just changed a lot of the rules actually recently, going to more of a permitting system. So it is possible, but it doesn't mean that there aren't places that you can skip that step. Short-term rental demand in the U.S. is consistently declining in 2025. True. False. True. Okay, a little mix. That is actually false. And we're going to look at the data in just a second. So June did show up a little bit under last year, but January through April were all an increase. So we were seeing not a crazy jump, but it was a steady increase. We're going to go into the data in a little bit more, but the average daily rate is what is holding. The occupancy has dipped a little bit, but overall, the demand for a short-term rental has stayed pretty steady, if not increased. And June was the very first month, because when I pulled the summer report, it was actually at the beginning of June. But now we have June actual numbers, right, since June has ended. And June was showing across the nation, right, so this is the whole country, was showing pacing 0.2% behind last year.
So it's interesting, I think the media, that's what I'm hearing. There's the headlines of
right,
things are dropping, they're changing, people
They
don't
are
want this
changing.
anymore, right?
Right.
But it's interesting because I feel like the media also misrepresents the real estate market
Sure.
in general, so.
Yes, and I will say that vacation markets and short-term rental are declining. Like that, they are like Galveston, I think I read somewhere, has, and correct me if I'm wrong, has like 10 years worth of real estate on the market right now. Something crazy like that, like a really big number, you know? So those places, you really are seeing a shift, right? But we're gonna talk about it. It's more of, it's just that it's changing. So if you want to get into the short-term game, you have to evolve and you have to adapt your management to it. And then each city or township can charge on top of the state 6%.
True.
Is that true? That is true. Yeah, so each even a municipality, ooh, that's fun to say, can charge their own. So Houston is like insane. They have 7, 2, and 2, so what's that? Plus the 6, I think they're at 17%. So that is passed to the guests, right? However, you have to keep that in mind. Why is that important? It's important because that affects their bottom line when the guest checks out. It doesn't necessarily affect your rent, but it kind of does, because then their total is going to be that much more expensive, right? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it works, you know? So it is just something to keep in mind and something that you want to look into and kind of research whenever you're exploring a new area. So it's not like a huge deal because the guest does pay it, but it's just something to think about. Okay, so let's get more into the data here. And not everybody is a big data person. So there is I did print some of the US data for you. I didn't print the local data because it changes so much. But there is in there a copy of the actual summer report. So like I said, this came out at the beginning of June. It's very realistic. It was real numbers, so these are super accurate numbers of what's going on in the short-term rental market. But this looks at the nation, and as y'all all know, the nation and local and areas are all very different. But it's important for us to know what's going on across the nation as far as trends go. So this is a summary of the entire report. I only printed 2 pages for you. I want to say it was somewhere around 30 pages of everything going through the different regions and all of that, and really diving into the average daily rate, the occupancy, the RevPAR, all the different pieces. And what we really want to know is what I'm showing you, is just kind of giving you a general overview. So it is showing a stability, signs of but a recalibration, not necessarily a decline. I already went over that, right? So in 2021 and 2022, those years, honestly, people don't even consider them in data anymore because they were such anomalies for short-term rentals. After COVID, the rates were 2%, 3%. People had some extra cash, and you couldn't travel. So, and you could work from home. So what were people doing? They were going and staying in short-term rentals. And then people were going and buying them, and they were hearing that these people were making $1 million, and everyone went and bought a short-term rental, which was great, and it boomed, and people did make a ton of money off of it. The only issue was that it completely skewed all data. So until what they consider like December of 2022, those 2 years really, they were an anomaly. They were booking like crazy, the rates were really high. And so 2023 was kind of the reset year. And then 2024, you did start to see just kind of all over the place. And this year, we've seen an increase, a steady increase from 2024, which is what you expect to see, right? In the economy, is a change and an increase. Like I said, the average daily rate is holding. What people can charge is still holding from last year. However, the occupancy is tracking slightly below. So again, in order to get that RevPAR number up, your total profitability, you have to have strategy in place with your rate management in order to know that you can charge a little bit more, right? But you may get bookings 2 days before. That's not uncommon. And these days, actually, most people are booking within 14 days. So that's a complete change in what we've seen before. So the industry has shifted, but you can perform well if you have the right house, if you have the right amenities, if you're priced right, if your location's good, all of those different things, right? So there's a lot of factors that goes into it. So this is what you guys have seen, and again, I'm not going to harp on data a whole bunch because if you want to read more about it, it's at the bottom. Kind of what you can see for, again, the final, and at the time, June hadn't ended yet whenever they sent it. And so as you can see, it was pacing a little bit behind for June, and it ended at 0.2 lower because they just sent us that number. So it wasn't 4% behind. It was, about stagnant of 2025. And then obviously those are what's on the books. So that's what was already on for July and already on for August at that time. And this was early June. Let's see. So this is the rental performance for the last three, next three, final arrival dates. Again, this is just looking at the average daily rate. We already went over, like, the rate is staying strong for what you can charge. You can see that it's a little bit higher. So even if you're losing a little bit of occupancy, you're making it up with your rent rate, what you're charging. And again, ADR is the average daily rate when it's actually being occupied. And then the last one is the combination that I talked about, that magic number that we care about, that's RevPAR. So that is taking into consideration the nights that are not occupied, as well as the nights that are occupied. So getting a true picture of how your property is performing, and you can see that it was performing generally above for March, April, May. We started to see a little decline in June, which at that time was just on the books. So overall, the first half of the year was looking very positive, if not looking to prove to have an end of the year strong, but June did kind of take a little dip there, which it happens, I'd be interested to see how July went because my June personally was a little slow and my July was amazing. So sometimes it's just the way the weekends fall too. Like with Easter this year, that did affect March versus April numbers, how it falls. So I put this in here to just kind of show the areas of, because when you're looking at the US, it's so different and so diverse, right? We're technically over here in the Southwest is where they put us. So you can see we've seen like maybe a 1% year or one change negative. But there are places that are booming, that are doing great. So overall, it is important to consider, it says of June 19th. I think I said June 2nd, but it was early, mid-June. Okay, so kind of thinking about that, what surprises you most about the national trend? So take a second, I know it's like a lot of information to digest. What surprises you most about national trends? And this is real data, meaning this was the Q1 and Q2 actual summer report that came out. Anyone? A sip of water.
Well, I'm not what surprises me, but just like what's taking people to certain areas and less of certain areas of the nation.
Right. Well, and a lot of it, again, has to do with just the shift in the economy. Like the vacation market is completely changing, right? So people are selling these houses. The urban market has, if you hold strong, they held out through 2023 where it was kind of a little, gotta hang in there. They're really quality houses now because they've got great amenities and stuff and they're at a lower price point. So people are going there. But also people aren't traveling for work as much anymore. They're not able to work remote anymore. So, it's just constantly changing, the traveler. Anyone else? No? Nothing surprises you? Everyone knew? Everyone had? Right?
I thought it was surprising the Mid-Atlantic area had such a strong growth and trend. Like, what are people doing out there? Like
Going to the beach. I guess, I don't know.
But the Atlantic beach? I'm like, I guess.
Why?
Right.
But they're
Because they're-
drivable.
Well,
Yeah.
you have the surrounding towns of Savannah and Charleston and all those.
Yeah.
Right? And it's all, I feel like it's just like real estate. There's always going to be ups and downs in certain areas, and it's just going to kind of depend too on the real estate market and on what the economy is doing and what people are willing to pay. And I know flights to Charleston are very expensive right now, so it means that there's a demand.
But I
This
noticed
is a,
that
Yeah.
most people, before they even look at a hotel, they look at Airbnb. They don't even, they even try to book with that, you know? And I don't know if it's a national trend, but I know here, there's so many HOAs now trying to limit it. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
so you have to really, really know
Mm-hmm.
the market. You gotta know that area to know that, you know, before you go and take an investor, go buy a house, and maybe you need to, you know, go to the city and say, hey, what are y'all rules with,
Right.
you know, with Airbnb? So, you know, because this Airbnb market wasn't supposed to be this hot. I mean, it's kind of like when
Right.
Redbox came out. No one like, who's gonna go and freaking get a movie out of Redbox and
Yes.
take it back? And then all of a sudden it turns into Netflix. So now the hotel industry is seeing that Airbnb is stealing a lot of revenue out of their pockets. And so
Right.
now all the lobbyists and all that are trying to limit it. And so that's why you have to be careful with.
And people don't understand the tax advantages of people having these second homes,
Yeah.
right? And so that is kind of what I've done, a lot of advocacy of explaining it. You know, really, it is a benefit for people to have short-term rentals in their neighborhood for the value of their home. But that's hard to see, I get it. But it's always going to be changing, and I'm going to even go over a few like little tips for looking at the HOAs, but it is something that's always changing, so it is kind of just something you always have to look up.
Yeah.
You know, there's not an easy solution for like, oh, yep, I can just look in this database, this house is allowed. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist. I wish it did. That'd make my life really easy.
But I didn't realize they had so many tax advantages, like for Airbnb. Like if you have like a major sporting event in your city, you can rent it up to 14 days and pay no taxes on it.
Well, and if you lived in the home too, there are certain advantages.
Yeah.
If it was your primary residence and then you're moving it to a short-term rental, so it can be really profitable. Okay, so we're gonna go into just like a few local areas, and again, this is super high level, like bird's eye view, just trying to give you just some food for thought. Okay, this is the entire Houston area. So a lot, like Houston area on this map goes all the way to College Station. College Station, Lake Conroe, the Woodlands, Conroe, all of Houston. You guys, like it's a big area. It's excluding Galveston though. It does not have any Galveston in there, okay? But it is a massive territory. So that's just kind of to give you a general idea. And remember, look at that occupancy rate. It's right at 50%. So that is just like such an easy, and again, some will be at lower, some will be higher, but that is such an easy number to just do simple math for. Because ultimately, if you're trying to figure out the revenue, right, the gross revenue, before mortgage or anything like that, a really simple calculation is just going to be taking the ADR, the average daily rate, and the occupancy rate. And then you're gonna get, right, so if it's 52%, let's just say 50%. If it's $100 a night, that's your average that you're getting for the whole year with peaks and seasons and all that good stuff, right? And then you're at 50%, so that's 365 times 0.5. And then you're taking that and just timesing it by 100. There you go. That's just a really, really rough number, right? But you can easily calculate that to even get an idea if it's even worth it, right? If it's a $500,000 house and you're only getting $100 a night, I don't know that that's going to be worth it. I mean, maybe if they just want to use it, but that's just food for thought, just to keep in the back of your mind. So here's a little more details of the exact same area, Houston. That was looking at 15,000 active short-term rentals. Again, remember it's really, really big though. It's not just Houston proper. It goes all the way through Conroe and everything. But they're about 15,000. That's up 13% from last year. What I always like people to realize is this little thing right here, listings by rental size. Okay. 43% of them are one bedrooms, but that's not shocking because Houston, right? Houston's a lot of like apartments and condos and stuff in Midtown, okay? Even on the lake, you've got a lot of condos and things like that. Then you've got your 2 bedrooms, 19%, 3 bedrooms, 23%, 4 bedrooms, now you're down to 10%, 5 bedrooms, 15%. So if you think about it, only 15% of the rentals out there in the entire Houston area are 4 bedrooms plus. That makes your odds a lot better to get booked, right? So it's really, I always say like the sweet spot's a 4 bedroom, Okay, that's really where you're gonna be able to charge a little bit more and you're gonna have less competition. Okay, and that's why, because there's just less. But now, does it cost more? Yes, of course. But if you can get that 4th bedroom, you're gonna be able to charge more. Okay.
Can you charge the same for a 3-bedroom with a sleeper sofa in the living room?
Maybe you could try it, but probably a little bit less. You're still gonna get a little bit more because the occupancy, if you bump up to the 8 versus the 6, it's all about the filter. When someone goes to filter and they put an 8 and you don't show up because you're at 6, you know. But people do filter by the room. Well, they want the 4 rooms, you know. But sometimes it can help with, like, in the urban areas, I feel like a sofa sleeper will work because they'll throw their kids on it or something. And like the vacation, or if you have a more luxury house that you're trying to market, they want the bedroom. They want the door, they want the space. So it kind of depends on the property. Okay, here's just Lake Conroe. They're at 879. So I think we talked about Montgomery County having about 2,000. You know, almost half of them are just on the lake. So that gives you just a little more details there. But what's not different is these numbers. You know, they're about this. I mean, they're a little bit different, but it's still around just about 15% is 4-bedroom plus. Again, there's your sweet spot right there. If you're not on both channels, you're missing out on bookings, that's for sure. People that are only on Airbnb or only on Vrbo, you're missing out on half of your bookings possibly. You know, so definitely want to be on as many platforms as you can. Here's the Woodlands. There's only about 200. I put this in here because I love the Woodlands properties. They rent so well. They are not as seasonal. They are not nearly as seasonal as other places. And they have events. They have the Ironman. They have the Arts Festival. And honestly, even like the Renaissance Festival in October that's out past Conroe will bring some people in. But they have like Exxon, and they have all of these other big work events that bring people in. And now what I'm seeing in my Woodlands houses is these employees are like, hey, I got this per diem that I have to book for 5 people. So if I go and get 5 hotel rooms, we're staying at the Best Western. Or I can go get us a house, and we get a pool and a hot tub, and we can all have our own rooms for the same price or cheaper. And so I do get a lot of like Monday through Friday bookings, and the Woodlands for people that are working. Those are my favorite too because they're barely at the house. So they're not causing any trouble. Right? So you do see a lot of people coming, and then also family, coming to visit family for holidays and stuff. So it's just something to consider. You know, people are like, why would anybody, are there short-term rentals in the Woodlands? I'm like, there are a lot of restrictions. You do have to get a township permit, but they can't tell you no. Well, I guess they could, but it's really just to make you pay a fee, you know, and jump through some hoops. And then here's the Katy area, which was also a pretty big area, and it has 607 actives. So you can see that there's a 19% increase from last year, which I thought was kind of interesting. Right? This area is kind of blown up a little bit on the short-term rental side.
A lot of medical up here.
Yeah?
A lot of medical, so that's
Right.
what we're talking about.
Well, and I mean, technically it's a great location as far as if you want to get to Houston, you're not that far, right? So, and again, you're seeing, and now there is a bigger chunk of 4 bedrooms here, which doesn't surprise me because it's such a residential area, you know what I mean? But that 40% 1 bedroom tells me you're gonna have a lot of competition if you're buying a 1 bedroom condo. But maybe the 1 bedroom condos are more appealing to a couple that's coming for treatment or something, you know?
Well,
So,
that's weird. We really don't have condos here in Katy.
well,
Oh,
maybe
really?
it could also be 1 bedroom in a house.
Somebody renting a room.
Yes, people do that as well.
That makes sense.
Yeah, where they have a 4 bedroom house and they have 1 room that they rent out. People actually do that. I personally don't ever take that on as a client just because of the extra liability there and operations. But people do, and there is a filter on Airbnb. I mean, and the price is going to be $80 or whatever.
Yeah.
And sometimes they have like private entrances. That's different. But okay, so what does the local growth data kind of tell you about where that short-term rental opportunity is or maybe where it's leveling off, just in this area. Thinking kind of generally what you've seen, Conroe, Woodlands, Katy, Houston, kind of compared to the US. What does that tell you about where opportunity is here?
In the Woodlands.
Okay.
And
I think so. I think it's a nice little hidden gem, but everybody, I mean, it depends on what you want. If you want a lake house, then that's not gonna do you much favors. Anyone else see any opportunities? Yeah.
I just more so a question.
Sure.
You talked about the Woodlands quite a bit, and I have a client that owns a bunch of houses in East Shore.
Oh, it's not allowed.
Uh,
I love that, and I wish it was, but it's not. Yeah, that's one of those areas that has its own HOA on top of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
There are 2 HOAs in there.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that 100%. Yeah, them and Carlton Woods,
Okay.
hard nose.
You know, comfortable with it, once you drive on the street.
Yes. Well, and one thing I like to, and I'll go into this next, kind of looking at what I think are some key features and what I've seen with real data be successful. And I'm sorry that it's so small. I'll kind of read them. But there is quite a few things that I like to tell realtors, especially our investors specifically, to look for. But location really is everything. The proximity, whether it's to an attraction or to the water. Here's an example. I managed a 4-bedroom house that was wonderful. They did everything right. They kept it well maintained. They had a ping pong table. It was so cute and it was great. It was here, the lake was here, and there was 1 row of houses in between them and the lake. So you couldn't even see the lake if you went upstairs, like peeked through window. Like super close to the lake. It did not rent well. It didn't rent, you know, because of the fact that it wasn't waterfront. I'm not saying 4-bedroom, not waterfront houses don't book, but in that neighborhood, it did not book because of it was not waterfront. Does that make sense? So a 4-bedroom house can do great, but the location does matter. Walkability matters more than like a fancy upgrade. So anytime I have an investor and they just want to talk numbers, right? I always say, if you're gonna spend money somewhere, buy the better real estate. You know, don't go get the granite countertops on, you know, a rundown house. I mean, again, it depends on your budget and what you're trying to get out of it. But if you're in between 2 things and you can pick, I'm gonna have a house in a better location versus house with like new, like I said, new countertops or new floors, pick the location. It's gonna pay off more. I mean, I think that's true in real estate probably too, or maybe not. I mean, real estate's always up and down, but location does matter. Again, I've said this like a million times. I find that 4 bedrooms is the sweet spot simply because all of a sudden you go from a small family or a couple to 2 families to 2 couples. So they're splitting the price. So you can charge a lot more. 3-bedroom, you're maybe charging $120. A 4-bedroom, you're going to be charging over $200 a night. So you can see how the difference, that's where I see the biggest jump. Pools are still the #1 searched amenity. I know that they're more expensive. I know it's a bigger liability. I get that you have to pay for a weekly service. That's all annoying. However, they still are the #1 searched amenity on Airbnb and Vrbo on your booking platforms. That's what people want. I have guests right now that told me that he called today on my way here trying to get in early. I was like, the code doesn't work, bro. I'll get you a new one. But I was like, I'll send you this new code because I just made you a new code. He said, oh, I don't need it. We're never going to leave the house. We're only coming. We live down the street. Like, we're only coming to use the pool for his kid's birthday. You know what I mean? Like, he's literally just coming to enjoy the pool for a couple nights. And they didn't pay like $100. It's a pretty nice house, you know? So there are people that just want to come and utilize the pool. But again, I even get it with work people. They're not going to even really be there, but in the evening, they want to jump into a pool, you know? Hot tubs don't really add much value here. I don't know why that narrative is out there. Maybe because in the north it's like so popular. But I have talked to so many homeowners or potential homeowners who are like, oh yeah, we gotta get a hot tub, add the hot tub. And hot tubs are not cheap either.
Because it's in Texas.
And I'm like, I don't think that you're gonna make your money back. Like, I don't know that it's gonna change your occupancy much. So to me, hot tub, not really worth it. It's nice to have if it's already there, but it is not a game changer. If you add a hot tub, I wouldn't expect for it to blow up your occupancy. Updates do matter, so don't take my saying don't update the countertops. They do matter, right? People do want it to look nice, but cleanliness and style is more important if you have to pick, right? Spend the money on making sure things are well maintained. So if you have the choice between replacing on the floors and getting new appliances, get the appliances, right? Or an HVAC system that works, that you're not having to get bad review. You get one one-star review, it's gonna be hard to come back from that. And you can get that from an AC breaking. Amenities can be added later. So again, focus on the location whenever you're looking to buy. Because you can always add a ping pong table, you can always add a grill, you can always add a fire pit, and they can be super low cost, but right at the beginning when you're furnishing the house and you're spending a lot of money, if you can't add those things, that's okay. You can add them later and hopefully increase, but focus on the things that really matter. Again, working AC unit, well-maintained roof, water heater, no weird electrical issues, people hate that. Making sure the house is maintained is really important whenever you're looking to buy. So like that inspection is everything, and don't waver on it, would be my advice from what I hear and see from so many guests. So this is kind of what we were talking about. There is not a good solution here, okay? The HOAs change their minds, they get new bylaws, people complain, people don't complain. There is unfortunately not one easy database that you can just go in, type in the address and see is short-term rental allowed or not. It doesn't exist. Maybe someone will invent it in this room. Here. Here you go. Here are just like a few easy, 1, 2, 3, do these little things. It's not fail-proof, but a first good little pulse check is just to get on Airbnb and Vrbo and look at the street, right? Look at the neighborhood, even look at the block. If the block has absolutely not a single short-term rental, that's a red flag. There might be some restriction in place. It may be because there isn't one, but more than likely, there's possibly something going on there. If there's tons of listings everywhere all around it, you're probably good to go. It should make you feel a little bit but again, if there's like 1 or 2, that shouldn't be okay, we're 100% listing this as a short-term rental. Because some people break the rules. There are a couple people that are gonna have it out there. So again, I would not rely 100% on Airbnb and Vrbo as your ultimate test. That to me is just a starting point, is like your pulse check. Hey, let me do just a quick little, let me see what I'm getting myself into. Like if you see absolutely none anywhere, maybe it's not even worth your time digging into the deed and stuff. You know what I mean? Or you can ask around or something. And then you're gonna talk to your HOAs and your deeds. That's gonna be a little more time consuming, obviously. I would say to start with the HOA websites. I found they have to post their bylaws. They don't make it really easy. Most of them are scanned copies from like 2015 that haven't been updated. So technically they could have been updated and they just forgot to upload them on their websites because most HOAs are not the most tech savvy. However, it's a good starting point, right? And then you don't have to call anybody, because sometimes when you call an HOA and ask about it, they get a little, well, who are you? What property you're looking at? So, you can maybe just avoid that conversation if you can. But again, if the HOA exists, there's probably someone who can help answer that question pretty quickly. Even just give them a call might be easier. And then lastly, talk to someone local who's an expert. Someone like me in the North Houston area. I know that area. That's what I serve. Okay, so if you're looking on Lake Conroe, I know the neighborhoods. Like I know the Woodlands. I know those little kinks. I have a house that's located in a place that the deed restriction says does not allow short-term rentals, and we do it anyways. And it's fine, and it rents great. Now, is it a risk? 100%. Don't buy it only for a short-term rental. This was already a vacation home. They already had it furnished. They were like, we don't. If we get shut down, we get shut down. You know, so it wasn't a big risk to them. But if you're buying like from scratch, don't recommend that. However, I'm just saying local experts may have some intel that they can give you quickly, so you don't, to save you a little bit of headache. Especially around the lake, there's a lot that don't allow it. I have like a running list, but it gets outdated a lot. Did you have a
Do
question?
you do anything in Bryan College Station?
I don't personally, but I mean, this data includes that area. My kind of thing is I have to be able to get to the house in a decent time, you know, usually within an hour or so. So I stay pretty local just because of my management style. But I know the area pretty decent. I could answer some questions probably. It's a totally niche market being college kids.
Especially now when football season starts, they all booked up for the next 6 months.
Yeah, especially parents' weekends.
Yes.
Those are done. And hopefully a super duper premium. And we have the World Cup coming here next year, so it's gonna be wild. I'm excited. Okay, so here's like what I was saying as a local expert. I have these hotspot maps for the Woodlands and Conroe that I'm happy to send you. I have a few hard copies if you want to take one. I'm not sure how much, I wasn't sure how much work you guys do in those areas, but I'm saying talk to someone local because they might have something like this too. You know, where it's super easy for me to just attach this to an email and make your job so much easier when you're starting the hunt, right? So talk to people local because sometimes they know some intel that may not be just easily out there. Okay, 250. So just some general ideas on projections. I feel like this is kind of the thing that you guys want to know and want to dive into the numbers some. So we're going to do a little Price is Right first to get us started, to just kind of see how good you are at figuring out these properties. Okay, this is a 5-bedroom house. It has 3.5 bathrooms. It's 3,000 square feet. It has the pool that I mentioned. You can see it is nice and updated. It's located on 242-1488 area, if you're familiar with that. It's technically a Conroe address, but its proximity to 45 is right here. You know, it's updated. It's pretty nice. Any guesses on the rental revenue gross annually? Total residential. Just throw out a number. Or do a little bit of math.
So that's total, that's
Occupancy.
just guessing it at a number that it's renting for and multiplying it by 365 and dividing it by half.
There you go. That's right. No,
Okay.
that's a simple calculator. Sorry. Sometimes duty calls.
65,000.
What'd you say?
65,
47.
40, 47, 50, 60, 67. Right on the money. Who said 65? You
I
said
said
65?
65.
There you go. And you didn't go over.
I didn't go
the
over.
price is right. All right, yes. So this house did about 65, and it's only increasing. So that is the difference with short-term rentals versus long-term rentals. Long-term rental, yes, the rate may go up a little bit each year, but not like drastically usually. Short-term rentals, you should see growth if it's being properly managed. So this was at 67 last year. And again, why they left is because they had to move away for work for 3 years, and they loved the house and have a great rate on it. So they just kept everything there, put their some like personal stuff in storage, and I talk to them once a year, you know, and it does great. Pays their mortgage and they make some money. Okay, here's the difference. Let's look at a condo. It's only 2 bedrooms, but it is lakefront. It's in April Sound, which is a very popular short-term rental area. 2 bed, 2.5 bath, so it is bigger. It's 1,800 square feet. For a condo, that is a little bit bigger. Yeah, there's much smaller ones in April Sound. It's nice, it's cute, it's decorated nicely, right? It's not like luxury, but it's cute, it's really nice. Any guesses? Okay, I'll let you do math again.
45,000.
45,
I'm gonna say 38.
38,
42,
2 bedrooms.
47.
Ooh. It did 30 last year, okay? And the owner does use this house as a vacation home. So could that number be a little bit higher if she didn't use it at all? Yeah, of course. And she does take it for July 4th. So that alone could have been your $2,000. But that kind of just shows you the difference between a 2-bedroom, right? Yeah, that is cheaper real estate. It's waterfront, so it's not as cheap as the ones with the spiral staircases. But a 2-bedroom is going to bring you in about $30K. However, you're going to get to use it. If that is your goal, you're going to get to use it, right? And you can bring the boat up and all that good stuff. Okay, so just for fun, this is a 4-bedroom, 4.5 bath. So it's only 4 bedrooms, but it's 6,000 square feet.
Wow.
It is luxury to the top, like very, very luxury, pool, hot tub, all the things, private boat dock, fire pit. My question is, what do you think it did in June? Just June, just the month of June. Summer, peak, the owners only used it 2 nights in June.
40,000.
In 1 month, what do you think?
12,000.
40, 12,
I'd say 40.
10 5.
10, 5. It did 22. It did 22 in June.
Wow.
They used it 2 nights.
How many does it sleep?
It sleeps 14 technically because there is a sofa sleeper downstairs. And really, we actually have like blow-up mattresses everywhere, so it could sleep more, but 14.
What does it do in the winter?
So the owners don't let me drop the price, so it doesn't do well. It sits pretty slow. However, if I could drop it to $450 or $5, it would rent. People would totally take advantage of getting this nice luxury house in the off season for that, because like right now it's renting $1,300 plus.
It's probably why they don't want to drop the price.
Well, and that's up to them, right?
Yeah.
Like they're okay with it. They do use it a lot, and they take holidays and stuff too. Not all the holidays, but it just kind of depends on the owner. Like if you want to, this is an over $1 million house, so I'm just saying you can absolutely, like these are the type of properties that you really can make quite a bit of money, but then you've got to be able to put in that much money, right? It's the same thing, high risk, high reward, but just saying they do produce. Even a luxury house that's 6,000 square feet and it's only 4 bedroom is producing 22K in 1 month. But the winter is slow. Okay, this is very generic. It is not the Bible. It is literally just, I like to provide just a really nice, easy baseline for realtors to kind of like keep in their back pocket and in their mind. And generally speaking, okay, a 1-bedroom, again, this could completely change based on amenities, locations, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, just an average, throw out a number. A 1-bedroom is going to do about 35% occupancy and is going to produce somewhere around $14,000 a year. Okay? Again, could that be much higher? What if it's a luxury apartment in Midtown? That's totally different. It's going to produce totally different. But just generally speaking, a 1-bedroom, let's just say general 1-bedroom. Okay, it doesn't have anything fancy, but it's nice, it's okay. A 2-bedroom, again, is going to hit more about the 55%, and it's going to do about 24. Again, just generally speaking, not if it's luxury or something that sets it apart. A 3-bedroom, you're going to start to see more around 60%. Again, 28,000, it's not making that much more than the 2-bedroom because again, it's that awkward number 3 where it's really not, you can't really split it between anybody. So it's one family, or one couple. They're not really willing to pay that premium price. At the 4-bedroom rate, you're gonna see a 65% occupancy and more around 47 is a good number. Right under 50, I would say, is about what you're seeing. And then your 5-bedroom plus, your occupancy does get lower because just not as many people need it. And however, you're, averaging somewhere around 80K in rent, just because of the extra bedroom. Now, if you have a 6-bedroom, there's only 21 total in the whole Conroe area. So you really, really start to set yourself apart. But again, general numbers, do understand that amenities and location absolutely matter. However, it's just something to kind of keep in mind if you're directing a client. Now, if it's like a 1031 situation, get the 2-bedroom condo, right? It'll be fine. It'll book, it'll serve its purpose. But if you're really looking to make money, you're gonna have to purchase like the bigger homes or the luxury homes.
So question, on the 6-bedroom, you said, okay, that goes into a whole other category.
Yes.
But I would think that
Kinda.
it goes into a whole other category too when people are looking, because.
Not that many people need it.
Correct.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And I have a 6-bedroom, and we kind of play with it because it has a garage apartment, so we've done it as 5-bedroom and 6-bedroom. I will say the occupancy doesn't change when we bump it up to a 6-bedroom, but we can charge more. So we had a much better summer this year with the 6-bedrooms versus the 5-bedrooms, but I didn't see the demand really increase.
But you're only saying the 6-bedroom is the garage apartment, it's not under the.
Right, yeah, it's an extra, but,
Okay.
so we
So it could be
had
rented as a
intended.
5-bedroom.
Yes, exactly. So I've actually like played with it, an actual property with the same amenities, same pool, same lakefront and all that, 5-bedroom versus 6-bedroom. And the biggest shift is gonna be the rate of what you can rent it for. Because you can add another couple to divide it by, if they get that. Again, super general. Okay, this is an STR calculator that's technically an Excel sheet that I'm gonna send you that you can play with, okay? But I printed you a hard copy so that you can look at it because I didn't want to do like a live demo or anything, but it's very, very simple. It is not, I'm telling y'all guys, this is like the most simple Excel sheet ever. My husband's a financial advisor. He loves spreadsheets. I hate them. I want someone to make them for me and let me just type in numbers. So that's what he does, okay? So that's what he did. That's how we made this. Now, I made it pretty and have color because that's what I do. No, I'm just kidding. But in the little input box, you can go in and change anything that's in that gray box, okay? So when you get this tool, you can go in there and play with it as much as you want. So you can see if you rent, if you bought, and this is a real example, okay? This is a 4-bedroom house, not waterfront, nothing out of the ordinary, it's just a 4-bedroom house, okay? The average daily rate was $216, occupancy was about 62, and again, I put in estimates saying that the maintenance on a short-term rental is going to be a little bit more than a long-term rental. Insurance is pretty expensive these days, so I went ahead and put $5,000 in there. Utilities, I put about $4,200 for the year. That could be a little bit higher, maybe in the summer months, but then you also have to remember you have time when you have nobody in there. So it does end up balancing to be about normal, your utilities. There was an HOA at this house, and it was purchased for $342. I don't know what they put down. I don't know what their rate was, and I don't know what the length of the loan was. So I just put generic ones. So you can go in there and play with that. You could change it to if they did a 15-year note, or if they did a 5% rate, or if they did 30% down. And you can look at that bottom line there, okay? So most short-term property managers are only gonna tell you this number, the rent number, right? Because that sounds really good. You're gonna make $48,000 versus making $28,000, okay? But the operating expenses are more, right? And I want people to truly understand that the cap rate is still higher, but really after paying your mortgage, you're walking away with about $3,000, okay? That doesn't sound like super exciting, but then if you look at long-term rent, you're probably losing money after your expenses for the first year. Maybe not. Like you could maybe have none of that maintenance, but that number is not including any vacancies. So that's just including if you had it rented all 12 months of the year, which that's kind of unrealistic too. Like there's usually at least 1 month of transition. Maybe not. Maybe you have someone in there for 3 years and you're doing great. But it's just something to kind of consider and compare. And let's see, I put the maintenance lower. You don't have to pay utilities for long term, right? But I did include 10% of a management fee because you're still probably gonna have to have someone manage it as a long-term rent in there as well. And then, you know, like someone like me is 20%. So I put my 20% in there. So that's like with everything, right? And the cap rate doesn't include the mortgage, obviously. And so you can see 7 versus 5. It's just a tool you can use and play with. And so I'll send it to you with an Excel sheet. So you type in a $1 million house in there and you'll see that number. Woo, that's exciting. This 4-bedroom one is not like super exciting, but I like to provide very realistic examples of what you're truly like getting into. Again, you're purchasing an investment property, right? Someone else paying your note. That's truly where that value is for the most part. Now, if you can make extra money, that's even better, right? Here's what I said before, and I'll say it again. The difference is this long-term number is probably not going to really change year over year. It may adjust a little bit, and I will say I went on the high end on that rent. There was comps at like $1,900 for this house, so it's probably more like 22. But anyways, if that number is probably not going to go up all that much. However, your short-term rental number should go up every single year. When you get more reviews, when you have the better algorithm going, when you get some updated photos, you get some feedback and adjusted amenity, you know, all of those things. So it's just something to consider. This is a rental pro-forma that I create for realtors. I have a little tool if you're selling a house as a short-term rental. So it's a little bit different. So it's not, technically it could be fine for the opposite too, but it's really like if you're selling a house and you want to market it as a short-term rental to potential buyers, like you want to blast your list, say you have an investment list or something like that, you can attach this. You can see I put your information at the bottom too, just put your logo, your info, and it just gives them an idea of the seasonality and how it does change. So you have to be prepared for that because some people aren't. But also it gives you kind of a range of like best case scenario, worst case scenario, so that it's really it's a pretty fair projection, right? You're not overselling something. And this is a real one. That house, 6 Crested Cloud Court, that was those are my real numbers for what it did. So you can see like it didn't do bad. And again, this is just a residential home in Spring, but it was a 4-bedroom.
Did it sell?
It did.
Did it sell more than if it was not a short-term rental?
They did not buy it furnished, but it sold last year before when things were really good, last August.
So they didn't keep it as a short-term rental, so they didn't
Right.
buy it as a business.
Right, the person came in and actually lived there. Yeah. So, but those are the real rental numbers. Just to kind of give you an idea, if you want me to mock one of these up for you, if you're selling a house, happy to do that. Again, I am local and an expert in the North Houston area. I'm happy to do that for you if it's outside of the North Houston area, but I will disclaimer that I am not as well versed, right? I can pull numbers all day long from these platforms like AirDNA and Key Data, like that's the stuff that I pulled for you. But they are inflated, right? Because the reason why is that at the end of the day, there is no software that is smart enough to determine if it's an owner block or a guest block. So, for example, they're just scraping the calendars on Airbnb and Vrbo. It will show it blocked if the owner is using it. But that doesn't mean any revenue came in for that month. Or it will take a brand new house that has no data and it will only average 2 months. So then the occupancy looks really low, right? So it does get thrown off a little bit. If you get on AirDNA, it's a great starting point. AirDNA, they have a free version. It's a great starting point, but it is not exact. Just know that there is inflated data on there. Because say an owner blocks it for the whole month of June and July, that looks like 100% occupancy in June and July, and it's not, right? So we have no idea what the house would have actually done had it been open. So just always keep that in the back of your mind. Okay, so some key takeaways here. The STR market is evolving. It is not crashing like the media may want you to know, but it is changing, right? You're seeing bookings coming in a lot less. The guest behavior is shifting, but the demand, as I showed you, is ultimately steady, okay? Location and occupancy do matter. Understanding where STRs are allowed is important. Choosing the right layout and amenity is key to the long-term success. And ultimately, like real numbers, there's real opportunity out there, but you do need to make sure you're making data-driven decisions and smart investments. Yeah? Any questions? Oh, that was a lot, right? I know. Just throw it all at you. Yes.
So, with the bookings, like,
Yes.
do you get many, like, just, very, like, quick turnaround bookings where they may be booking a night or two before they're arriving?
Yes, I do. And then
Yeah.
summer a lot.
Mhm.
Not as much for like holidays and stuff, those will book out. But
Mhm.
for just like a last minute weekend or whatever, yeah.
So are you going in, or any of your owners going in, and let's say you're looking at next weekend, you don't have a booking, will you drop your price trying to get people in? Do you do kind of that kind of micromanaging?
Yes, so I actually have a full-time rate manager and I have software, RevMax, that is constantly pulling in the comps and comparing and building yielding maps, trying to maximize RevMax. So I actually have a person that does that every single day.
Oh, great.
Right, so we will drop it. It's gonna get lower the closer it gets and it's not booked, but there is a floor where I'm like, this, it can't ever go lower than this. We don't want it sitting at the floor because then the algorithm is not updating. And Airbnb and Vrbo want the listing to always be changing and moving. So there is actually quite a bit of science behind the rate management, and software is definitely required. Yeah. Yes.
I think I stay at a lot of short-term rentals.
Yeah.
So it's not that I know anything about it, but
No, the guest experience is
I
important.
stay in a lot of, like, the same ones too in different
Yep.
areas, but what I've realized is over the last several years, the prices have gone up drastically, but then I'll look and, like, they're willing to not rent it for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to keep the same rate. So is that why the average daily rate is staying consistent, because they don't care if it rents, they just want the numbers to look good?
You know, it's probably a little bit of everything. It's kind of a mix of a lot of different things because it depends on your strategy. Like some people, maybe they don't have a manager or they don't have the time to adjust the rates. So that's why the rates are higher and then they just leave it like that. And then some owners, like I talked about, like they don't want to drop the rate. And so they're okay with their occupancy being lower. However, I found like my prices are really high a year out, right? And then they're going to start to drop because if someone is willing to not lose that house and pay the higher price, I'm going to take the booking. Right. I also changed the daily minimum rate requirement. So if you're booking for next year, it's a 5-night minimum. If you're booking for this weekend, it's probably a 2-night minimum. So it kind of probably depends on quite a few things, but also if people are willing to pay more because other people are priced that way. People are comparing to their competition. So I think it does have to do with a little bit of maybe people aren't changing their rates because they just don't have the capacity to, and maybe it's also a little bit of the economy and everybody has their rates a little bit higher so you can get away with it. Probably a combination of a lot of things, actually. Anything else?
Any question?
Yeah.
I was looking at your spreadsheet, but I'm not seeing anything in here in regards to the initial furnishings and decorations.
Correct, that's not in there. And so if you want to get like your actual ROI, right, you'll have more of an investment. So there is, this is not including the cost to furnish it.
But I mean, is there a typical number that you see for most people when decorating and furnishing? Or?
Depends on the size, but it's gonna, and how you furnish it. But I mean, it's gonna, think about, you are buying mattresses and couches and stuff. But like for a 4-bedroom house, you could probably do it for $20,000 or so, you know? I mean, if you go to American Furniture Warehouse and knock it all out, on one day, right?
Right.
And just get pretty basic stuff. You don't need a lot of decor, so that's nice. But at the end of the day, a mattress does matter. So don't cheap out on the mattresses. Right there, if you're buying 4 mattresses, whew, you know. And if you're getting kings. But people do it for $10,000 or so, but then they're probably having to replace it because it's not holding up, right?
Well, and as far as your services, I mean, can you kind of tell us exactly what you do and how we can bring you business?
So I am a full service short-term property manager, so I do everything. So I take the listing, I put it on my platform. It goes on all of the different platforms simultaneously. So it's on Airbnb, it's on Vrbo, I have a direct booking site, it's on booking.com, it's on Marriott, it's on everything, okay? Then I have a rate manager, I do all the rate management, and obviously I meet with her and I'm watching it as well. So we're doing all the rate management, any promotions we want to push through, we're doing. So we're getting it booked. I'm doing all the guest inquiries. Like right now, I don't know why my phone was blowing up. I'm gonna go over there and see something's broken somewhere. But I do all the guest inquiries, the late night calls, and I do have a team that helps. So we go in behind the cleaning crew and inspect to make sure everything's ready for the guest. And then, you know, schedule the cleaning, schedule the maintenance for you. And really the homeowner, they just have to, they pay for wear and tear, right? So the normal upkeep of the house is the responsibility of the homeowner, but I'll help coordinate it. So if the AC needs to be serviced, I'll help get someone out there, but that would be a cost to the homeowner. And I remit hotel taxes. That's not fun. Have to do it monthly. So, yeah.
But you don't come in until after the house is ready. You're not helping with staging and decorating.
Right. And I have lists and I have suggestions and websites and things like that. And I have my own linens program, so you don't have to worry about like sheets or towels. But the house has to be guest ready for me to fully take it on and put it live.
Okay.
And take the photos and everything, which I do the photos and the door lock and all of that as well.
Did I hear you say 20%?
20%, yep.
The gross revenue?
And that's from your revenue, yes. So that is not, like I don't take 20% of the cleaning, and obviously hotel, that would be illegal, pretty sure. If you remit taxes and take a cut off of it, or trip fees or anything like that. So if I get charged $222 for an AC unit or repair, I'm charging you $222, right? So I could upcharge that, and sometimes I have to do, if the owner is requiring something a little excessive, then it'll be different, but I'll chat with them and say, okay, if you want me to do that, then like, that's a little more demanding. If you want me to go sit for 3 hours waiting for a plumber because you require me to be there, yeah, you're gonna have to pay for my time. You know, that's a little bit different. But if you just want me to coordinate it and set up a door code for them and let them go in and fix it and get it done, I'll do that for you, no problem.
And so, you know the spreadsheet that you have over here? It also doesn't include, like, say, a property manager.
Oh,
right?
it does. Yes,
Which
it does.
one? What is that?
You can't see it. It's on the second. It's on the second sheet.
Oh, okay.
But I don't have it on there. But the management costs are in operating.
They're
Yeah.
operating. Okay.
Yeah, it's just in the operating expenses total.
Okay.
But it's on the second page. I just didn't print it because it's not pretty. You'll see it on the actual spreadsheet. It has my 20% built in of rent revenue, and it has a 10% built in for the long term too. But you know, it's not as pretty, so I just left the numbers part, the cells, out of it. But yeah, okay. Hopefully you got something good, or at least something you can take. And again, I am just someone who really thinks that knowledge is power, and I'm always happy to help. I am an expert in North Houston. That is really that's what I know. That's where I live. That's where I work. So that's really where I can help. I can try to run some numbers for you outside of that, and I'm happy to create a little pro forma for you. That doesn't take me much time at all, but hopefully at least the Excel sheet gives you a tool that you can kind of do it yourself if it is out of the area. Yeah.
You said the national average is what, 52% for booking?
Yes.
Is it?
Houston.
Is it the same up in the Woodlands and Conroe, or is it higher?
The Woodlands is a little bit higher, Conroe is a little bit lower.
Cause we're like 75-80% in San Antonio.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, but everybody wants to, people travel from out of state to go to San Antonio.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
'Cause it's
People
just a-
don't really travel from out of state here unless they're coming from work. So
I mean,
it is a little bit
nice
different.
3-bedroom, it's not a luxury.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, like, my Conroe houses typically are more not the lake houses. My houses are performing average more around 65%. That's what I'm seeing. But I'm on multiple platforms. But you have to take in, there's DIYers, there are people who are blocking their calendars, So average 50% is about what you see. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The 75 is great. Shoot for 80.
Very basic question. I have no
Sure.
clue about any of this, but like as far as what you're charging for like your daily
Mhm.
rate or whatever.
Yes.
You just kind of look at what's going on around
Right.
that house.
Mm-hmm. We
Is
pull
there-
comps, so we make a comp set just like you would. We pull comps, see the same amenities, same size, same area. Do they allow pets? Do they not? All those things. And then we can, in my software, I can even adjust it. So I can pull the comp set and say, my house is a little bit better than these. I want my rate to be 10% above all of these rates. And it will automatically do it. Or I can say, like, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I want it to be 30% lower than the comp because I want to fill that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Nobody else does. I want to fill it, right? Or for this house, the owner will never take lower than this number, so I'm actually going to jack up the rate a little bit because I want it to move down. Because if it sits at its floor, then it's not moving. And if it's not moving, then it's not going to it might get booked. But we also look at the occupancy of the comp set. So at the top we can see if 90% of that comp set is booked, I am not dropping the price. I'm holding out because they don't have anything else, right? If they're looking for that particular house, they don't have a lot more options. So I'm holding strong and it will probably come through. If I see only 20% of those houses are booked, I'm dropping my rate because I want to be a little bit below the competition.
And how often can you play with that number?
Every single day.
Okay.
And every single day is different. Yeah, it's a 365-day rate management. Yes.
So, you cover North Houston.
Yes.
Do you refer, if it's outside of North Houston,
Mhm.
is there someone that you would refer us to?
Yeah, there's iTrips all over the nation, but again, we are local business owners and we own like small areas. So it's not like every big city I have someone. You know what I mean? Unfortunately. There's over 100 iTrip franchisees, so there might be someone that I could get you in contact with, but it just kind of depends if someone has bought that territory or not. There's a lot in Florida. Tons in Florida. iTrip started iTrip Vacations in 2008. So on one of my branding things, it says vacations. That's because back in 2008, there were no urban markets. It was truly a vacation thing to go on Airbnb. And then it started to shift, and all of a sudden you have all these urban markets, and Airbnb is everywhere, that they dropped the word vacation, and now it's just iTrip because it's vacation no longer served even me, right? Some of my guests are doing vacations, but most of my guests are doing work, family, maybe a little bit of staycation, but not like true hardcore Florida vacation. If that makes sense.
Okay, so I have 2 questions for you. First, do you have any kind of mailing list? So if one of your owners wants to sell,
Yes.
because I do have people that are wanting like an established short-term rental.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
They want to buy the whole thing
Yes.
as is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to get on your list.
For sure.
Right, that'd be
Absolutely.
great. And then second is, what was your experience professionally prior to buying your franchise?
I was a teacher.
Oh, that's right. You
Yes.
said that.
Yeah. So
It's totally different. For you.
absolutely different. Yes. I worked in Conroe ISD, was the district instructional coach of secondary schools, and got my principal certification, my master's. I did everything, and was like, okay, now what? There's nothing else. Okay, I'm gonna get out of this. And so I decided to become a business owner, and really the franchise of iTrip just appealed so much to me because of their, I like the business platform first off, but just what you could do. And I don't know, I'm a sucker for my area. I love the local area. I really like being able to work in the area and promote it. So yeah, now I'm coming up on 4 years, and really know North Houston is my niche now. Like, I know it up and down. I can tell you any weird thing or any question you have, I can probably answer it about short-term rentals.
So what are the requirements if you're interested in getting this franchise?
Well, there's a couple of different ones, but we sell exclusive territories, so you have to live wherever you purchase. That would probably be the biggest thing.
And roughly the investment?
It changes on the market. So it depends on if you buy like a primary market or a boutique market. Like in Houston, they broke it up into 4. Like it's 4 separate markets because it's so big. And my market is from Lake Livingston all the way to Spring. I want to say it's like 3.5 hours drive. So it kind of just depends on what is in each market. Yeah.
So do you see a difference in houses that allow pets versus no pets?
Absolutely. And it's an extra revenue stream.
Okay. Pets being just dogs, pets being dogs and cats?
I don't have anyone that allows cats.
Okay, yeah, people have allergies and things.
Yeah. Sometimes if we get like a month booking or 2-month booking, the owner will be like, okay, fine, but take a huge deposit. And usually I've only done that like, I can count on one hand,
So what's the percentage?
Oh, for a cat, I took
for a dog, that people renting homes that allow.
In the residential area, it's big for occupancy. For a vacation home, it doesn't have as big of an effect. But like in the woodlands or something, if you allow a dog, you're gonna just stay booked a lot more. I don't know that the rate is all that much different, but you do get bookings because of it. And then you charge the extra $75 per pet or whatever. So then it is your rate going up, or your bottom line.
And then you said,
I'm an advocate. I think you can steam clean anything, but
yeah, we just, because we have a putting green in the backyard, it's a small backyard, we just said no.
Yeah.
So we don't, it just makes life easier right now, and we don't really care about it anymore,
Well, if your occupancy is fine, then why mess with it?
That's not been a problem. You said that we book at Christmas and Thanksgiving, like months out.
Yes.
Christmas booked months ago.
Yes.
But I don't know that they're doing and we don't manage ourselves because we just don't want to have to deal with it. But I don't know that they're taking, maxing the night stay like you are. How far out do you book to say, no, it's got to be 5 nights?
Usually at like 90 days, it's 5 nights, and then it's going to slowly drop from there. But it kind of depends on the house. Depends on how big it is. Because like a bigger house, I can get away with more.
Yeah.
Like I could do a 7-night stay.
No, it's a 3, 2.5.
Yeah. So maybe 4 months out or 5 months out, you're at a 5-night
I'm just
stay.
going to ask them about that because we do book so far out for the holidays.
Yeah, and that's RevPAR. That's that number that you're really looking at.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Yes.
So just to summarize, you manage the bookings, you manage the maintenance.
Yes.
And the cleaning and crew and everything.
That's correct.
You take 20% of the revenue.
That's right. Yes, I work all the time. I don't sleep.
So you do these presentations because you're wanting agents to bring you owners to represent.
Well, and if you sell a short-term rental, you want to be able to how many of you get asked like 95 times a day for a person, right?
Oh, yeah.
And do you have someone who does this, someone who does this? Typically, if someone is buying a short-term rental, they don't want to manage it. Like honestly, more than not, people don't want to manage it. They don't want to deal with it. So then I'm that resource that you can reach out to and say, oh, I got someone that can do it, for you. Like buy the house, okay? Because I got someone that can take care of it for you. Because I've actually had agents be like, oh no, they wouldn't buy a short-term rental, but now that I know you, they probably will, because they just didn't want to deal with it. So, but I love to teach, and I really do love short-term rentals, and I love what I do, so I can talk about it all day.
So if somebody wants to buy a short-term rental and invest, so do you share your expertise?
Yeah, as long as it's in the North Houston area. because if I can't help, if I can't manage it for them, so I have to stay in my territory. Yeah, but I can maybe refer you to someone else in a different area.
And what is the fees involved in that?
To refer you to someone, I'm not going to charge you anything. Yeah, no. I'm happy to help with information, data all day. Okay, I think we're just
Amazing.
about out of time.
Just so
Yeah.
I understand, that 20% that you're taking also covers the cleaning?
Well,
As well,
the
or-
guest that's
It does
totally
not, right?
separate.
That's separate.
Yeah, the
Because
guests
you
are getting
mentioned-
charged cleaning.
Yeah.
And they're paying it, so it's not coming out of your pocket.
But you said that's a pass-through, your 20% does not.
My 20% does not include the cleaning fee.
Or
It's
the-
just rent.
It's just on, it's not on the,
Yeah.
on the HOT.
No, it's
Okay.
just at the top line, yeah. So the cleaning is getting charged to the guest, and then I'm literally turning around and paying the cleaner what they paid me. And I'm buying all the toilet paper and all the paper towels. So yeah, I'll mark up the cleaning just a little bit. Sometimes not. Sometimes I have to eat the cost a little bit. But I'm buying the toilet paper. I'm buying the paper towels. I'm buying the coffee. I'm putting it all into the house. I'm paying for the inspector to go behind the cleaners and take care of them.
That comes out of your 20%.
Technically, yes. That's all included. I'm not upcharging
So
for
you've got
any of that.
supplies coming out of your 20%.
Really comes out of the cleaning. I'll upcharge the cleaning a little bit to cover supplies.
Okay.
But it's not affecting the owner whatsoever.
Okay.
If you go to Browning, let us know.
They have a market there for sale. Maybe someone will go buy an iTrip in that area.
So the rate that the consumer is paying includes cleaning?
Yes. And that's on Vrbo. It's line item. On Airbnb, it's all included now. I hate that they did that.
Oh, you do?
It drives me crazy. Yes. Well, because they can't see. I can't use that as a competitive advantage. Like where I can drop the cleaning rate sometimes and just eat the cost a little bit myself in order to grab a few more bookings. And now that method doesn't work. Might as well just drop the rate, not eat the cost. But yeah. Okay, guys, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
And you all have my information. It's on my business card on the front.